Thank you for joining us for the African Center for School Leadership Information webinar today. My name is Jepkwany Michael, and I'm the Communications Manager at ESA, a partner of the African Center for School Leadership. We are really excited to have you today, and to get us started, I'd like us to go through a few housekeeping rules just to keep us orderly throughout the session. So first, I'd like to request you to please share your full name, your country, and also the organization in the chat so that we can be able to identify you. We also request you to keep your microphone muted throughout the session unless you have been invited to speak. In the chat box also, try to submit the questions or comments at any time. We have a designated time for question and answers, and all your questions will be responded to. This session is also being recorded, so we'd like to let you know that the recording is ongoing, and the materials from this session, including the PowerPoint presentation, and also the recording, will be shared with you thereafter. We kindly request you to be respectful when you are sharing your comments or responding to some questions. If you experience any technical issue like internet failure, we request you to log out and also rejoin. We have deactivated the waiting room, so you'll be joining in easily. So kindly note also that the webinar is being presented in both English and French. So we request you to select the preferred channel and remain throughout in that channel for the entire session. Once more, I'd like to welcome you, and we are really excited to have you. At this point, I'd like to welcome Dr. Leila for the welcoming remarks. Over to you, Dr. Leila.
Thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon, depending where you're joining us. Welcome, and we really acknowledge and appreciate you joining this webinar. As noted, this is the second cohort of the grant offered by ACSL, African Center for School Leadership. I'll take you through the agenda for the day and the aim of this webinar, and then I will hand over to our CEO to give an opening remark. On the webinar agenda today, we'll go through, we'll hear the opening remark from our CEO as noted, and then we'll hear the overview of ACSL, African Center for School Leadership, and strategic rationale. And then we'll also hear the existing Tanzania and PANA priority research themes and what this year theme is about. Importantly, also, we'll hear the current grantees, cohort 1. We are already ongoing with cohort 1, and we are now advertising for cohort 2, just to clarify. So this is a 5-year program, and each year will have something similar, just to note as an opportunity. Beyond that, we'll also go through some presentation to talk about the grant and the process, the requirements, and also what is expected. We'll open the forum for Q&A, question and answers, and then we'll close exactly on the hour, and we'll have to ensure that we keep time. So the aim of the webinar, the next slide. The aim of the webinar, definitely as noted, is to support the generation of actionable evidence to strengthen school leadership policy and practice across Africa. So through this, we'll introduce the ACSL, and then we'll also introduce the grants, research grant and their strategic objective. And also the aim of this webinar today will have some clarity, what is expected on the continental as noted, and also for Tanzania. Importantly, also, we'll talk about the responsibility of grantee, what they need to do. As an example, what are the reporting and the dissemination is expected through the current grantee as an example. And we'll try to answer all the questions, and we'll have also opportunity to ask after this through an email. We have a community of learning for another opportunity as a platform where we can see how to engage the great like-mindeds in the space. Just to let you know, African Center for School Leadership, which we'll hear more, is a partnership between 4 institutions, VVOB, FAWE, ESA, and ADEA. My colleague will talk about it a little bit in a short while. I want to open our CEO, Dr. Pauline Essa, to give us our opening remark. Thank you. Over to you, Pauline.
Thank you very much, Leila, and good morning, good afternoon to everyone, depending on where you're joining from. So, thank you for the opportunity to give this opening remarks. It really is exciting to be on another call. How quickly time flies. I remember us trying to get the webinar going for cohort 1. But yeah, very quickly we're on to cohort 2. So as my colleague Leila said, the African Center for School Leadership, which I'll shorten to ACSL from now on, is a consortium of 4 partners, and I'm really delighted to be giving these opening remarks on behalf of ESSA, where I'm CEO, but also the ACSL. It's a project across the consortium, and so me speaking at this opening remarks is really on behalf of the whole consortium. So for those who have joined, thank you very much for your interest in this opportunity, and more broadly for your commitment to strengthening school leadership in Africa, because I'm sure you've joined because this topic is of interest to you. So thank you for what you're doing already in that space. Before I go in further, I would like to sort of express our sincere appreciation to the MasterCard Foundation for the general support of the ACSL and this research grants program. We wouldn't be able to do this without that financial support. But also to acknowledge the members of the ACSL Research Advisory Committee for the expertise that they bring to the program and the insights and guidance that they've offered throughout their project so far, and including the work done with the cohort 1. I would also like to recognize colleagues from ESSA, but also the wider consortium, VVOB, ADEA, and FAWE, for all the hard work, the partnership, and the continued collaboration. We can't do this work, even if our component is a research and mail for ACSL. Nothing works unless all partners come together to ensure that the activities we are doing are coordinated and can give the best impact possible. So thank you all partners for what we're doing together. Now, on the topic of school leadership matters because what happens at the school leadership level shapes what is possible throughout a school. And this is the same whether it's in Africa or beyond Africa. Effective leadership can really create the conditions in which teachers are supported, where resources are used well, where schools respond to their communities, and learners have a better opportunity to thrive. That is why it's so important that we invest in our school leaders. However, important questions remain about what effective school leadership looks like in different African contexts. We need to know what works, whom it works for, under what circumstances, and how successful approaches can be strengthened and sustained on the continent. Because too often policies and programs are developed without sufficient locally generated evidence to answer these questions. At ESSA, we believe that African researchers and institutions must be at the forefront of producing evidence needed to address Africa's education priorities. So through ACSL, we are committed to supporting higher quality African-led research and strengthening capacity of the researchers, raising the visibility and the networks of African researchers. That's why we're doing what we're doing today. Crucially, we want the evidence generated through this program to travel beyond academic publications. We want the evidence to inform policy, to strengthen practice, and to contribute to better outcomes for our school leaders, the teachers, the trainee teachers, and the learners. We are already seeing encouraging progress through the first cohort's work at the ACSL. Supported by approximately $865,000 US in funding, the first 39 researchers under the cohort 1 are undertaking vital studies across several African countries. I want to recognize and congratulate all the cohort 1 researchers, whether they are on the call today or not, because we deeply appreciate the commitment and the hard work that they are doing. They are delivering individual projects, but also building a growing community and a stronger body of evidence on African school leadership. Now for cohort 2, those who have joined hoping to become members of the cohort 2, this cohort will allow us to build directly on the foundations that cohort 1 is already establishing, and we will welcome new contexts, new perspectives, and new research questions. Therefore, if you're on the call today hoping to apply for phase 2, you're very welcome, and we would really appreciate you sharing your ideas and hopefully getting through to the final selection so you can make a contribution to this work. So for all you prospective applicants, I encourage you to look beyond the grant itself and to begin to challenge your research and how that will help to address questions like, what important school leadership problems are we seeking to understand or solve? What new and useful knowledge will our research contribute? Who needs this evidence and how will we engage them? And fourthly, how could our findings influence policy or improve practice in our context in Africa? Whether you're part of this cohort or not, I hope these questions will resonate with you as you conduct research on school leadership or any other thing in Africa. So we would like to see strong proposals that are rigorous, that are relevant, that are feasible, responsive to context, and are capable of producing evidence that others can understand and use. That is a simple criteria we're asking people to consider as you put your proposals together. I'll encourage you to participate actively today, listen to the experiences of cohort 1 attendees, ask questions, and seek clarification. This is the right time to get the information you need to prepare your calls. Make the most of the opportunity and prepare a strong potential application for submission. To my ESA colleagues, to consortium partners, I'm truly excited about the potential of cohort 2 and the new voices, ideas, and partnerships that we could bring to this growing community of African school leaders and researchers. I wish you all a very successful proposal development stage once we've answered all your questions today, and we look forward to welcoming cohort 2 to the ACSL research family soon. Thank you very much, and let's have a great webinar today. Thank you. Back to you, Leah.
Yeah, thank you, Pauline. Thank you for your great remarks that you have made. I'd like to welcome Jocelyn for the next presentation on ACSL Introduction to African Center for School Leadership. Over to you, Jocelyn.
Thank you very much, Michael. Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. So it's a pleasure to introduce the African Center for School Leadership. Thank you very much. So colleagues, as I was mentioning, it's a pleasure for me to introduce who we are as the African Center for School Leadership. So as Pauline was mentioning, the African Center for School Leadership is a Pan-African coalition of partners where we bring in partners on the African continent committed to promote effective school leadership. ACSL is coordinated by 4 Pan-African partners, including ADEA, the Association for the Development of Education in Africa, ESA, FAWE, and VVOB, which I'm representing today. So at the level of the country, we collaborate with ministries of education, national professional development providers, and research institutions, again, also to promote effective school leadership. And of course, the ACSL has been developing based on the different supporting partners, including the Mastercard Foundation, which is supporting this program. Next slide, please. So as background, when we talk about leadership, we see it as a distributed practice. We believe that leadership is not a one-person responsibility. Leadership is cross-cutting across multiple actors and multiple levels, starting from the school level where the head teacher or principal collaborating with different teachers and student leaders to achieve effective learning and teaching. And at the system level, we look at the both local and sectoral level, including actors like district officials, inspectors, and the ministries of education. And we also look into the beyond the system, including us, where we look at the non-state actors, such as the CSOs, teachers, union, or any association, and of course, educational coalition, who really plays a role in influencing education leadership. So as a background, this is how we look at leadership. Next slide, please. So how do we make sure that we promote school leadership? We believe that school leadership can be effective when we have the right policy, school leaders when they have the right professional development, and of course when professional development and policies are informed by evidence, and of course when we bring in everyone. So when you look at the focus area where we focus, when we work on, is around policy development, where we'll work with government to strengthen school leadership policies. And the second part is about professional development, around strengthening the capacity of different actors on, and especially for the capacity development of school leaders. And around research, which is also part of what we are doing today, if you can go back to the slide, quick, sorry. We are building evidence, new or communicating evidence around school leadership. And of course, we share knowledge through different communication and advocacy points. And we call gender equality and social inclusion is a cross-cutting theme when we look at leadership development, to make sure that it reaches everyone at the level of policy, professional development, research, and communication advocacy. Next slide, please. So at the ACSL, we believe our vision is to make sure that every learner in Africa benefit from a high quality education that prepares them for the bright future. And how we do it, as I was explaining before, it's around strengthening school leadership systems that improve learning outcomes, well-being, and for all through partnerships and collaboration. So we also have a couple of values that guides our work. We believe in excellency, where then we promote quality and effective school leadership that improve teaching and learning outcomes. We believe in co-creation, whereby we ensure that we collaborate with partners in all our engagements and the programs. The third one is around Ubuntu, where we believe about the importance of community, unity, and sharing of values. And we also believe in creativity, whereby we advocate for innovative ideas and solutions that can be sustainable in terms of advancing school leadership on the continent. The last one is about inclusivity, where then we make sure that all stakeholders' voices is respected in all programs and all our activities. So how do we do it, or what do we actually do? So we look at it into two different ways, what we do at a Pan-African level, and then we also have a set of activities that we do in different countries. Starting from the Pan-African level, our starting point, and also something that guides our work, is to map up initiative both at continental and country level, so that we can be able to identify the gaps, but also promote good practices and learning across the continent. We also design and deliver blended learning and change trajectory for professional development providers, policymakers, and researchers, which I believe grantees will be able to receive the grants for these cohorts, or we also go through as they implement the research. We also develop evidence-based policies and practice, and I will invite you to reach out to our website where all these documents are documented on. We also convene different partners at continental and country level to share lessons, promote collaboration, and we also see that both paths, or the Pan-African level, contribute to two-way exchange between what happens at the Pan-African level. We also are able to share through different need-based and demand-driven technical support at the country level. Again, looking at practice, policy, research, and sector coordination. And of course, we work with the local researchers to co-create different research agenda that can inform also the grants and the research that will take place in the different countries. And I was saying before, we integrate gender equality and social inclusion in all our activities. So this is it for now. So I hope that you have a clear picture of what is the ACSL. I'm handing over to Benjamin to share the different research priority for Tanzania and Pana.
Okay, proceed,
Okay,
Benjamin.
thank you. Yeah, so okay, thank you, Grant. So why I'm saying why African Center for School Leadership is focusing more on school leadership research. Number one is because we have observed an increasing recognition of the school leadership as a cornerstone of quality education, equity, and improved the student learning outcome within countries, specific country, but also global. Also, we have observed in Sub-Saharan and in Tanzania, there is a number of new policy reforms and other activities which have been taking place beyond the administrative role. So we expect our school leader to act as an instructional leader, being change agent, and also community connector. Other thing we have observed is school leaders are facing a number of challenges due to the reforms ongoing in different countries, including the competence-based curriculum, which has been taking place in different countries, but also we have observed the fee-free education, where now we can see increase of number of students in schools, where now the school leaders have not well prepared to take over those responsibilities due to the changes of a different reform. But also, we have observed many leaders in Africa either enter their position without a structured, prepared, ongoing professional support. So we know school leaders are appointed among teachers. By the time they are appointed, we have observed that most of them have not well prepared and even got any professional support to take over their roles and responsibility. And also there is leadership training and competence-based professional development opportunity remain very fragmented. Number of professional development have been done. Even the school leaders are not given opportunity to select the kind of skills or training to attend. But also those who are doing those professional development, they are not coordinated in the country, but also at a continental level. So we are here in cohort 2, but how did we alive to those selected themes? We started by doing the mapping exercise. So I'm going to share you different stages we went through. Number one, we started with planning, where we identified different stakeholders, and also we developed different tools, like even identifying what kind of publication to be considered as a school leader publication, which year should we consider, and most of the publication we started searching from 2010 to current. So we identify a number of issues that was on the tools development. So we conducted a desk review by identifying a number of different publications from different sources. So we reached out to different database from the higher learning institution, journals, and other sources where we can get our school leaders publication research out from different sources. Another part, we had primary data collection, where we shared the online survey to different researchers and stakeholders in the area of school leadership, but also we conducted interview to education stakeholders, including the policymaker, practitioner, and researcher from different higher learning institutions. Thereafter, we validated the findings using the workshop organized by African Center for School Leadership, where we invited different stakeholders from practice, policy, and also research agenda at country level, where this has been done to different countries, including Tanzania, Uganda, Liberia, and also at continental level, where we had a meeting in Nairobi, and we created the research agenda for Africa or at panel level. And then we developed and validated the Continental Action Plan, which was developed during the co-creation of the research agenda. And we disseminated the mapping reports, and this can be accessed to our African Center for School Leadership website. You can get a mapping report for different countries, including Tanzania, but also we have the Continental Mapping Report. What are the key findings from the mapping exercise we conducted? Number one, we observed that school leadership has been facing a challenge, especially on funding, so that this has been a major challenge where researchers have interest, but getting funds to support their research has been a challenge. Also, we have observed that research and evidence on school leadership is limited, fragmented, and underrepresented. This is within at country level, but also at continental and globally. So it has been a big, serious challenge getting publication focusing on school leadership only. Another challenge we observed is a weak linkage between evidence and policy and practice. During the mapping exercise, yes, we find remain in shell when school leader, they don't have any information related to different challenges have been facing in their schools, not well used. And it's not been researched as a research or publication you obtained. The school leadership has been embedded into other components during conducting the research. We went further by analyzing the data, sharing the case for Tanzania. As I said, we have a specific country mapping report, and we also have the continental report. A case of Tanzania, we analyzed data by the first author, and it has been observed that less women has been participating or doing research in the area of school leadership. Only 37% compared to male who observed the collaboration, but also within the African continent and outside African continent. You can observe most of our researchers are collaborating within the country, but the collaboration with other researchers from outside the country, but within the African continent, the collaboration has been very minimal, only 4%. Let's say researchers from Tanzania collaborating with another researcher from Kenya or Uganda or Sierra Leone, this has been very limited, only 4%, while 16% that was a collaboration between African researchers and outside of the African continent, let's say Europe or Asia or America. Now we are speaking about the cohort 2, but how did we alive to those research agenda or themes we are advertising right now? We undergone a number.
Karen, kindly proceed from here.
Thank you, Benjamin, for the submission. Allow me to pick it up from here, just to support from the internet connection part. So I know Benjamin was talking about the prioritization process that we normally take when we are developing the research agenda. And based on the process, this kindly, Michael, go back to the previous slide. So this is basically in regards to the process that we take when we are co-creating the research agenda. And as he alluded to the process in Tanzania last year, we collaborated with policymakers, people from the practice side, and researchers to co-create based on the mapping, finding gaps that we had identified, as well as the priorities as in relation to the national priorities. So as I'll be able to allude to it, 5 key priority themes came up in Tanzania. The same process was utilized at the continental level to help us identify the 8 themes that I'll speak to. So basically, it comes from the mapping process that I know Jocelyn and Benjamin have spoken to, then checking where the knowledge gap is. We had a part of panel discussions and reflection, and of course, thematic groups where participants are allowed to reflect on what are the gaps that do exist. And at the end of the prioritization process, we do like consensus building, and the participants are allowed to are led into the process of selecting the top priority topics that we then use for our call to proposal. So in the next slide, I demonstrate the 8 key priority topics that arrived from the co-creation process. This was sometime in February this year in Kenya, where when you look at the call to application that we have advertised, these are the 8 themes that have been identified as the ones that you need to identify a research topic around them. So inclusive school leadership, adaptive leadership, school leadership in fragile and crisis contexts, because we are noticing that across different African contexts, school leaders are operating in fragile contexts. So themes around these topics are highly encouraged. Then we have distributed and collaborative leadership, because we are talking about CBC and across the different domains, like there's that aspect of shared leadership that we really want to encourage within our schools, from within the school and across the middle tier. So that is also a topic of interest. Then school leaders' lived experiences. The one thing that we've noticed, and it also arrives from our mapping exercise, is the limited models of what actually best leaders look like, or best performing schools. What are they doing differently? So if we are able to get cases where school leaders document their lived experiences, the best practices that they are actually adopting to ensure improved learning outcome, that will be great. Then school leaders' well-being and psychosocial support. This is something that have come out across different domains, that school leaders, with the increased workload that Benjamin alluded to, with the increased demand with the current system, a good number of school leaders, and I cite a case of Tanzania, for example, they are facing a lot of challenges being able to handle the pressure that comes from above and within the school and around the community. How do we document evidence to support the school leaders to lead the journey? Then leadership development and succession planning. So that is also a topic of interest. African school leadership models, so the likes of Afrocentric leadership or any African school leadership like African school leadership models, the transformative leadership, distributed leadership, the different models that can actually work for the case of Africa, for Africans. Then leadership for early childhood development is also to leadership, where like the foundation actually starts. So how do we empower like leadership to be able to support early childhood development? So these are the themes that we are looking for at the panel level. So applications for other countries except Tanzania would be focusing on this. And in the next slides are the 5 themes that speaks to Tanzania specific research themes. So these are national identified priority topics within Tanzania. So we expect that applications that will come in Tanzania would be around these 5 key topics: instructional leadership, ICT integration in schools, leadership inclusion and equity in leadership, partnership and collaboration, which is also a key, like Jocelyn was speaking about, an interest when it comes to our values as the center, but also the aspect of CBC, like we mentioned, there's a lot of partnership and collaboration across the community, within the school and across this education system that is needed for effective leadership. Then, of course, also something that cuts across is best practices and models of effective school leadership. So being able to showcase best practices that are actually leading to effective leadership in different contexts would really be encouraged. Then, my colleague, the next slide. So the key question, and as I transition to the next part of the presentation, is why are we talking about grants? So like Benjamin alluded to the findings, there is a gap in terms of funds to be able to support contextual relevant evidence. So we believe this grant should be able to address that. Then improved visibility and accessibility of school leadership produced African research. So just to make sure that as we collaborate together, and we do have a community of learning where we're encouraging sharing of knowledge so that whatever we are doing within the education system is evidence-based. Then the next one talks about bridging the gap between practice and policy. Michael? Kindly move. So this would be able to help us bridge the gap between practice and policy. And of course, with these grants, we also believe that this would strengthen the local research capacity and promote sustainability. To the next slide. Okay, then when you talk about what is really specific when it comes to ACSL grants and unique, I know there are different models of grants out there, but we believe that the African Center for School Leadership grant is unique in 4 key ways. So it's first of its own kind. So when you look at the different initiatives, and Ben also mentioned that most of the studies that have been done would be on teacher development, and you find a segment on school leadership with it. So we felt like school leadership needs to be given a priority. So this is one of the first initiatives that specifically focuses on school leadership, specifically offers grant to focus on school leadership and not school leadership embedded within any other theme that is education related. Then we are also talking about African research led by Africans for Africa. When you look at the call to proposal, you'll notice we are very keen to have PIs and collaborators all coming from the African continent. This is because we want to make sure that the evidence that is generated is contextual and people are basing that on the African values and cultural issues so that it can be able to solve the African problems. And of course, one of the things that is really cool, and we are seeing a lot of good things coming from the first cohort, is the aspect of action research. So like Pauline mentioned, we want to know what works for whom and in what context. And this actually gives the researchers an opportunity to be creative, to innovate, and be able to test, adapt, and refine real-world innovation. So that is also something that we are really keen to look at, and I know Edmond will be speaking about that. And of course, with this aspect of action research, we are already a first step in bridging the gap between evidence, practice, and policy, because the evidence that is going to be generated is going to be generated within the schools, with the school members, and across the education system. To the next slide. Michael, thank you. So just to give a quick overview of the Grant 1 cohort and how that looked like as we move into the second cohort and how that would look like. We did have 39 total grants that were offered, both at the continental level, the Pan-African level, and specific to Tanzania. So in Tanzania specifically, we had 14 grants which are currently into implementation, 10 of which are descriptive action research, then 4 are comparative action research. At the PANA level, which is any other countries except Tanzania, we had 15 descriptive action research and 10 comparative action research. So in a total, within the first year cohort, we have offered $865,000 to this investment. So that is just to also show the support from the MasterCard and the interest that ACSL has to support evidence generation within the continent. At this point, I would love to play a quick clip just to give you a glimpse of what the cohort 1 grantees are saying. And then after the video, would quickly hear from 2 of our cohort 1 grantees who are within the room to just share the application process and the motivation behind the application.
My name is Dr. Amina Abedi Juma from the University of Dodoma. Recently engaged in 2 projects. Project related to PANA, which is going to be implemented in Tanzania and Uganda, and the other one is going to be implemented in Tanzania.
My name is Ayubu Ismail Ngao from Mkwawa University College of Education. The main focus of our research question is based on the comparative analysis on the ICT integration in school leadership, focusing on the different settings such as rural and urban in Tanzania.
We are exposed to different kind of materials, learning platforms, networking, collaborations, and so many other stuff that we were not aware of. So all this just is like they are supporting us in so many different ways, of which now we can see ourselves like we are not the same people that we were before.
I might be the youngest in this cohort, especially beneficiaries of ACL guarantee or beneficiaries of this award. I took this as an important opportunity for development of young leaders, which ACL also put forward as the one of the key priorities during these years. ACL may take into account the development of young leaders. They're trying to give me a space. I like to call it like a mentorship. Ninakumbuka wakati nafanya application katika ACL grant mara ya kwanza, ilikuwa ni changamoto kidogo, kwa sababu tunaelewa watu wengi ambao wanaomba fund huwa wanakuwa ni watu wenye experience, lakini hii imekuwa tofauti sana kwangu, kwa sababu mimi nachokiamini, naamini katika kujaribu. Na naposema kujaribu, naamini kwamba kama naweza nikajaribu na nikapata matokeo, naamini nyuma yangu kuna watu ambao wanaweza wakanifanyia mentorship.
For me, frankly speaking, I can say I'm not taking this for granted. I just taking this as a learning opportunity of where it is going to add value on my own career, okay, as a researcher.
The most important call ambayo naweza kuifanya kwa vijana wengi ni kwamba wasiogope kujaribu. Wasiogope kujaribu kwa maana ya kwamba hawako peke yao.
Thank you so much, Michael, and congratulations again to the two grantees that you've just watched, are all from Tanzania. And I think the key message is do not be afraid, try to apply, because within the ACSL consortium, you work along with the team, you get to network and get support from the different team members that you would be working together with. At this point, allow me to invite Dr. Jane Wasike from Kenya, who is working on something along Ubuntu leadership, to give us her testimony. Dr. Jane, can you hear me?
Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I am Dr. Jane Wasike, a beneficiary of the ACSL grant. I am a part-time lecturer at Kibabi University in Kenya. I'm also a chief principal in the secondary schools in Kenya. I have a teaching experience of over 30 years and 20 years as a principal in rural resource-constrained schools in Western Kenya. Our project is Ubuntu in Action, a descriptive co-constructive study of leadership practices for holistic learning in rural Western Kenya schools. And I want to thank ACSL for this opportunity to present what motivated me to apply for this grant. One, for many years I've led schools in rural Kenya that are resource constrained. I have accumulated many management theories, strategic planning models, data-driven systems. I have attended countless conferences and numerous certificates and degrees. And yet none of this ever addressed my daily realities as a principal in a resource-constrained school environment. There was a clear disconnect between what I learned and what I experienced. In Kenya, we say, vitu kwa ground ni tofauti, meaning on the ground, things are different. The Western-driven leadership models did not speak to my conflict, and my frustration and the frustration of thousands of principals like me remained unheard. So when I saw the ACSL call for proposals, I saw an opportunity. The themes, especially the focus on Afrocentric school leadership knowledge, resonated deeply. This was a platform to voice and articulate the issues affecting thousands of principals. Indeed, it was an avenue to document, disseminate knowledge with the hope that something would be done to provide practical solutions. And the other thing that motivated me was the suitability of applicants, women in school leadership with PhD. As a beginner in research, I've also had challenges while applying. One, being an amateur, putting up a research team was not easy. I had no network of researchers. And to mitigate this, I spoke to our department at the university, Dr. Simon Kipkenay, and he graciously accepted to become my co-investigator. He also helped me identify capable research assistants who are master's students at Kibabi University. Another challenge I encountered was the budget preparation. The requirements are very tight and there is no room for mistake. So I drew on my little knowledge on project management skills, where I know about the work breakdown structure. So I developed a plan that broke down the chunk of work into manageable work packages, making it easy to face and come up with the cost and eventually the cost of the budget. Another challenge I had was the methodology. This was my first encounter with action research. And to overcome this challenge, I had to read widely, consulted, I had to develop a network of experts. And I'm glad that as I've continued, ACSL has not left us. They've walked the journey with us. Now, so far, what has stood out for me? One, I'm so impressed with the professionalism of the ACSL team. The webinars are conducted meticulously, as you can witness today. Their presentations are clear, time is managed excellently, and there's constant communication between ACSL and guarantees. We even have a WhatsApp group that keeps us all informed in real time. Secondly, we have what we call the Blended Exchange Learning Trajectory, BELT. It's a transformative program. It has helped me to move beyond just being a mere researcher to a level of generating evidence that is credible, useful, and practical. So BELT is a mentorship experience that is strengthening our research skills and capabilities. Also through BELT, we are able to have peer learning. I've had an opportunity to engage with fellow guarantees who are highly profiled professionals, professors from across Africa. I hear them share experiences, challenges, and solutions while working in different contexts, which is very valuable. So in conclusion, I'd like to advise prospective applicants, take the leap, build your network early, be prepared to learn, because action research is different from what many of us are used to, and then trust the process. I assure you, ACSL provides the support and BELT provides the mentorship. You're not alone. Finally, remember your story matters. Your experience as a principal, a researcher, an educator is needed to build Africa-centered evidence that can transform school leadership across the continent. Thank you for listening. I wish you all the best, the very best with your applications. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jane, for that inspiring message. We really appreciate, and we hope the participants in the room have had you are not alone. We too welcome from Cameroon, one of the 3 Francophone grantees that we have within the cohort 1. Dr. Marshall, please come in. Feel free to speak in French. We do have translations, and I know the audience will be able to hear you clearly. Thank you.
Voilà, je suis particulièrement content d'être là pour présenter mon expérience de recherche. Alors, dans cette expérience, donc, il y a 2 choses. C'est d'abord la première, c'est que qu'est-ce qui m'a motivé? Qu'est-ce qui m'a motivé? Je crois que c'est d'abord le thème et le projet. C'est la première chose qui a motivé parce que parler de leadership scolaire pour nous, des chercheurs, c'est quelque chose d'extrêmement important parce que nous, tous qui sommes en Afrique, nous avions réalisé à quel point l'éducation que nous avons n'est pas ancrée dans des besoins réels. Et j'ai fait une étude également, juste au moment que je venais de publier dans la revue Éducation et Société, où je réalisais que les techniciens du froid avec qui j'ai discuté dans les trajectoires ont été utiles à notre environnement, mais sans avoir vraiment eu à passer par le système officiel, mais à travers leur propre approche, leur volonté d'être utile à leur société et de pouvoir apporter un certain nombre de choses. Et donc, ce programme, cette bourse ACSL est venue vraiment à point nommé et je me suis dit qu'il était extrêmement important avec des collègues de pouvoir s'engager dans cette aventure. Et c'était dans la perspective de cette aventure qui m'intéressait. Alors, quelles difficultés et comment je les ai surmontées? Il me semble que la première, c'était justement de trouver une équipe solide avec une vision commune, puisque nous étions dans ce que j'appelle une approche comparative. Et dans cette approche comparative, ce qu'il fallait faire ici, c'était entre le Burkina et le Cameroun, c'était de trouver des collègues. Or, il se trouve que j'avais également un collègue à l'université Kizerbo qui a travaillé en sociologie de l'éducation et a publié. Et là, nous avons trouvé des points de convergence. Mais la difficulté maintenant, c'était de trouver donc d'autres personnes qui sont structurées autour. Et donc là, j'ai commencé à travailler sur des CV. Nous avons d'abord discuté. Donc, il faut d'abord le faire. Il faut prendre le temps, quoi, de le faire en avance et trouver d'ailleurs au sein des collègues ceux qui se sont quand même plus ou moins rapprochés de cette problématique, mais surtout aussi ceux avec lesquels on avait une approche méthodologique qu'on peut appeler inductive, c'est-à-dire celle qui consiste non pas à ne pas tenir compte de la littérature spécialisée, mais de voir comment est-ce que nous allons proposer une approche originale de terrain qui puisse nous permettre de pouvoir faire émerger des théories à partir de ce que nous avons. Donc, voilà ce que nous avons fait. Nous avons également beaucoup regardé et lu sur le site de la CL et de voir un peu quelle était leur philosophie et tout ça, ça nous a beaucoup aidé et surtout, il faut bien relire l'appel et voir un peu les différentes références. Ça, c'est extrêmement important. Et qu'est-ce qui a donc particulièrement marqué ma participation dans l'actuel programme? C'est tout simplement le fait que tout ce qui a été dit dans le projet, nous le vivons réellement. Ça a l'air d'être simple, mais il y a toute une équipe très professionnelle qui nous encadre, qui nous accompagne et qui nous fait vraiment sentir comment même le concept d'Ubuntu fait sens. Et je crois que c'est une très belle expérience parce que nous apprenons tous les jours. Et en même temps aussi, nous avons des collaborations avec des collègues que je découvre qui sont excellents collègues du Ghana, du Kenya, avec lesquels même on a parfois des collaborations, même en dehors du projet, mais qui nous permettent aussi de renforcer nos perspectives communes. Donc voilà, merci beaucoup. J'espère ne pas avoir débordé en time.
Yes, so much, Dr. Marshall. Merci beaucoup for that. And I think just for context, Dr. Marshall's project focuses both on Burkina Faso and Cameroon. So that is also an aspect of comparative action research that he's bringing in. Thank you so much. I hand it back to Michael.
Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you, Dr. Acherat. Thank you, Dr. Chen, for your insightful remarks. I'd like to welcome Dr. Edmond for the next presentation. Over to you, Dr. Edmond.
Okay. Thank you very much, Michael, and thanks to all the presenters so far and the contributions from our ex-team grantees who have exhibited the work that they are doing so far. We appreciate the work you are doing, and we encourage you to continue to deliver. So I am going to take you through what's next, how cohort 2 is going to look like, and what we expect of you. So first of all, let me start by introducing to you the two types of research grants that you'll be applying for, or you have already started the process of applying for. We have the descriptive action research, and then we have the comparative action research. Now, we have defined it as, especially for descriptive action research, involving designing and implementing and evaluating an intervention within a single educational context with homogeneous factors such as one school context, geographical location of the same characteristics like district or community. Now, it generates in-depth evidence on what works, for whom, under what condition, and why within that specific context. I know that you might be very familiar with what it means to have descriptive action research. Now, within this area, or within this context of descriptive action research, we are expecting that prospective grantees would conduct or submit their proposal to cover a period of 12 months. And so if you are a prospective grantee and you are submitting a proposal, ensure that it is within 1 year. And of course, we are looking at individual researchers who will be carrying out or putting in call for this particular type of grant. Then for comparative, we're saying that it involves designing, implementing, and evaluating similar or contextually adapted interventions across 2 or more educational contexts, such as rural versus urban, across countries, etc. It compares implementation processes, outcomes, and contextual influences to generate evidence on what works, for whom, under what condition, and across which context. And now this would take 2 years to carry out. And the target audience is individuals, again, individual researchers. We're also interested in institutions such as, research institutions such as the universities and other research organizations. So within the question and answer session, I noticed that somebody has already asked a question in that. I hope that you are answered. Next slide, please. So for the 2 types of grants that will be awarded, descriptive and comparative action research, we are expecting that we are awarding 23 grants for this cohort. Now, out of these 23 grants, which is summing up to a total of 485,000 USD, we will award a total of 12 for Tanzania, and then a total of 11 at the PANA level. And so you would notice that, as has been mentioned earlier by Karen, what goes into how the research agenda was formulated and so on and so forth. So whoever is in Tanzania, you qualify to apply for the grants either in mainland or in Zanzibar. And then for PANA, you also qualify once you fit within the African context. Next slide, please. So what will the grant cover? Now, we want to ensure that you work within the context of what we want you to use the money for. And that is why it's important that we take you step by step on what we expect you to use the money for, so that it is not used for other things that may not be the main purpose and intended purpose of the money. First of all, your research time has to be clear what your research time is going to do. Basically, your professional service, or should I call it your professional fee, the research materials, travel and logistics, dissemination and knowledge sharing activities such as workshops and so on and so forth. What you need to take note of is that you cannot charge overheads on this amount. You would agree that this is not so huge an amount. And so we do not encourage institutions in particular that would be applying for this to introduce any kind of overhead fees for such funds. And so if there's an institution that is planning or has already started the process of applying, please take note of this, that once your institution, maybe it's a research institution, and anytime there are proposals and you win grants, there's some level of overheads that goes to the central administration for governance purposes. This is not permissible in this particular type of grant. What we want to avoid is the complications that goes with release of funds, and ensuring that, some monies, all monies, in fact, all monies are used for the intended purpose, which is research, conducting comparative and descriptive research. Now, a point to note here, the projects may receive additional support from other sources, provided such funds does not fully cover the same research cost. So we actually encourage you to write for other grants. You can, based on the grants you receive from us, use that as a stepping stone to apply for other grants. What is important is that you must let us know that you have been able to secure a grant from wherever, and that grant will take care of maybe additional activities that you didn't foresee taking place within your work, or professional fees, or something that our grant is not going to cover. If it is going to be an additional activity that you think that would need further support, you need to write officially to us that you have been able to secure an additional grant, and that money would be used to support the research, but it will be looking at ABCD, which is not covered by our funds, so that we want to avoid duplications, so you don't use the money, the amount for the same purpose, and it ends up being a waste. So you are encouraged to still, apply for grants, and particularly if it is based on what you have, received from us. If the grant you receive from us is able to open up other doors for you, we are very excited about that, because that is also a form of sustainability, which we see right there. And so we will be very happy to have you declare and let us know that this fund is going to be used for A, B, C, D, and then we know how to proceed. Next slide, please. For ineligible expenses, there are a number of them that we don't want you to use the funds for: time of administrative staff or personnel not directly contributing to the research activity, manuscript preparation after the project duration, training unrelated to the project, such as general professional development, cost of computers, internet hardware, and other data collection tools. Okay, cameras, smartphones, voice recorders, routers, etc., cost of electricity, insurance expenses, costs associated with entertainment and social events, conferences that falls outside the domain of the work that you are doing. These are all ineligible expenditure that you cannot use the funds for. Please take note of this. Now, in terms of your budgeting, you will definitely be producing or preparing a technical and financial proposal. And within the financial proposal, you would have a budget. Now, we expect that personnel and research time contributes between 15 to 20% of the total budget allocation, which means that whatever fee that you would be allocating to your team shouldn't go beyond 20% of the total fee in terms of remuneration. The budget should clearly specify the level of effort and rates for each individual receiving the fund. So it's important for you to indicate the PI will be taking this for this reason. The co-PI will be taking this amount for this reason. Collaborator A will take this amount because he will be doing so and so and so. Collaborator B, she will be taking this amount because of ABC. So all of that needs to be spelled out so that we are clear in our minds where the money is going and what purpose it is being it's serving. Now, project research costs, we expect to be between 80 to 85%. So here it tells you that the chunk of the amount should really go into the work, the actual work, which is really the main purpose of the grant. Next slide, please. Now, eligibility criteria at the panel level. Now, applicants for these grants must meet the following criteria when you are applying. The nationality is very important. You must be an African citizen currently based in Africa, but that should exclude Tanzania. And the reason is quite clear. Tanzania has their own component, as I've already indicated. So if you are applying under this component, you can come from any part of the African country, residents in African country, doing research in the African country, in any of the African country, in any of the countries within Africa, but you should not come from Tanzania. The focus should be, as explained earlier by Karen, you should make sure that your research work, your proposal is tailored around the agenda, the research agenda that has been set, which she did a good job in explaining. The PI must have a PhD. It is a must in education, educational leadership, management, educational planning, or closely related social science field. This is very important because we had to reject quite some really good proposals because in the first cohort, because some some of the proposals did not go by these conditions. So it's important that you pay attention to them. At the panel level, you can submit your proposal in either in English or in French, depending on which country you are coming from. Of course, geographical location should be within the African country. And as I indicated, in terms of academic eligibility of the PI, you must have a PhD within the last 5 years at the time of your application. So at the time of your application, your PhD should have been 5 years old. It shouldn't be beyond that because we are interested in early career researchers. And so if your PhD is 6 years or 5.5 years, no, please. Unfortunately, we are sorry. It has to be 5 years and below at the time that you are applying, so we can focus on the real early career researchers, the people who really need this money to mature to be experienced researchers, as we call it. Next slide, please. So when it comes to the application requirements, what are we looking for? I'm sure most of you have already gone through this process. For those of you who are yet to start, you would have to fill an application form, and then you have to also produce a cover letter, which would have a maximum of 500 words, and then a research proposal, which has to have a maximum of 4,000 words. Then the financial proposal. Now, the technical, which is the technical and the financial proposal put together, giving you the 4,000 words. So let's be clear on that. Curriculum vitae of all of the people that are involved, from PI, co-PI, collaborators, all of you, the curriculum vitae must be attached, referees, and the list of collaborators. It is important that you indicate also the collaborators what they will be doing within the team. It's important that we know what role each person will be playing in the team so that we understand when you allocate some professional fee to them, whether it commensurates with the kind of work or the kind of task that is going to be carried out. But it's important that we know each of you and what your contributions are going to be and why the payment is being made to you. It is mandatory to utilize the budget template that will be attached. I'm sure that for those of you who have started the application process, you would have downloaded this. And also, please do not request for edited access. Rather, download copies of the two forms onto your laptop for offline usage. Next slide. So now when you have applied and we are going to do the evaluation, proposals will be evaluated based on the following criteria. How relevant the proposal is to school leadership and policy needs. It's very critical, and that is something we would not compromise on, because this is about strengthening school leadership, looking at issues of research, policy, and PD. So to what extent have you addressed the issues of school leadership? It's something that has to be very clear within the methodology of the work, and it has to also be clear in terms of its feasibility, whether it is even realistic in terms of how you want to go about it. So as much as possible, your proposal has to be realistic and ethically sound. It shouldn't be something generated that would not it reads beautifully, it adds on, it looks like something that can add on to knowledge, but it doesn't seem realistic to implement it within the time frame. Maybe you are applying for descriptive, and yet what is going to go into the proposal, what has gone into the proposal doesn't look like something that can be carried out within 1 year. We would not unfortunately accept such proposal, because we want you to be real about what you are submitting, particularly with regards to its implementation, and most importantly, because this is action research. We don't want this done and put in a shelf somewhere. We want it implemented. We want it solving real life problems, and so that is why we want to make sure that whatever you are submitting we are going to see the impact, the potential impact in terms of what comes out, and then experience and capacity of the research team would inform this based on the type of proposal that you provide, and of course the budget that will go with it, and to what extent you mainstream gender in your team is also very important. So we would also be looking at all of that, and of course the realistic and coherent timelines that you would have presented in your proposal. So inclusivity consideration in the selection criteria. These are the things that we want to also look out for, and in terms of what we expect to see in the team. Gender considerations within the research team. As I said, we want to see how much you have mainstream gender within your team. Regional representation. You can have, your team members not necessarily coming from the same country. You can have some in different countries, but you are working together as a team. Topics that cover marginalized groups such as rural, gender, and so on and so forth. issues of people with disability, and particularly the youth. We want to see how much you involve the youth below 35 years. It's very, very important. That's why we're calling it early career research. We want to see how much you have brought, the team is how youthful the team is to be able to given such an opportunity to build their capacity when it comes to research. And then, of course, collaboration, your ability to collaborate, showing that potential, being able to collaborate with other researchers. What do we expect from grantees? Now, for those who are already in cohort 1, they are already going through this. And so it's not going to be different from those of you who will be fortunate to be picked. You would be expected to obviously conduct your research within 12 to 24 years, depending on which cohort you apply for. There are mandatory meetings that you would have to attend and submit mandatory reports quarterly or monthly. You would also produce policy briefs within 3 months and after completion. And you are also expected to submit peer-reviewed journal manuscripts within 12 months post-project. And of course, we expect proper accountability of your financial documentation when this is all done. I want to thank you now and hand over to the moderator.
Thank you. Thank you, Edmond, for this. I can see our time is almost up. We have less than 10 minutes. I just like to let all the participants know that we shall try as much as possible to respond to many questions verbally. But then for the questions that we may not be able to respond to now, we have other platforms, including emails, that you can share your questions and all of them will be responded to. I'd like to hand over to Emmanuel for the next stage, that is the question and answer session. Over to you, Emmanuel.
Thank you very much, Michael, and thank you, everyone, for your participation and to the team. And with the presentation from Edmond, I could understand some of the questions might be answered. I have also noticed some of the questions potential applicants shared in the chat box. I will present it for the panel to provide answers to them. Can you please move to the next slide for me? For me to make use of time, the next slide has some potential questions that were asked through the call for application, and answers have been provided to that. So I will come with these questions so that Leila, Edmond, and possibly our Director of Finance, John, will help us with the financial questions. There is a question on, can a team apply for the 2 different grants at the same time? And another question is on, am I allowed to improve on the unsuccessful cohort 1 research proposal if it falls under cohort 2 teams? And the third question is, the grant for research in school leadership or institution can apply? And the fourth question, I think, is, can we cover cost of internet or mobile data for data collection? And lastly, can the PI be someone who is African but not ordinarily a resident in Africa? These are the questions. Leila, please, can you come in and help us with response to some of them?
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much for the questions. As mentioned, Edmond has gone through quite a bit of the requirement, but it's correct to mention that the previous unsuccessful applicant can apply again, but please take note of the requirements, strengthen your application, collaborate in the right approach to ensure that you stand a higher chance. There was a reason why the previous application was not successful. So try to read the advert very well, see what themes are there, see what is the requirement. There are some of the key high level requirements is the PI should have 5 years of PhD or less to encourage mentorship and to encourage early career researchers. And yes, institutions, we are encouraging individual applications. However, if you feel like you need to use your institution as an individual applicant, you need to give us a letter to confirm that they will waive the institution cost, which is basically the overhead or the percentage that they usually charge and etc. That's what we have been doing for the current one. Basically, this research is meant to encourage and is meant to be conducted in the African space. So you can become a co-PI. Honestly, we encourage collaboration at all levels, various institutions at all contexts. But the PI need to demonstrate because the data has to be collected in the context. That's why we're encouraging African researchers in the African context because we know that they need to, it's very hands-on, so they need to be around. So the PI needs to be in the space and need to have visibility in the space in Africa. You can collaborate with other co-PIs and other collaborators in various spaces. So we are encouraging, there's some requirement that for sure we will not forfeit when you're going through this application. And as you have heard, it's very thorough. Due diligence will be done. And in fact, it goes through almost 4 layers of review. So there'll be no way that we'll do injustice, neither will we do favor any application for any context. I will give John opportunity to talk about the internet cost or any other costs. Thank you.
Thank you, Leila. After John does with the hand up, we'll give opportunity to some so that we can try and meet with time. John, please, are you there?
Good afternoon. Yes, thank you. In terms of internet costs, yes, so long as it is mobile data and not installation of broadband and other related costs, which are capital in nature. But so long as it is just data for the mobile data for data collection, yes. Any other cost that is related, kindly let me know so that I can respond to that specifically. Thank you.
Thank you, John. That was the only finance question. Joshua Callon, your hand is up. Can you unmute and speak or come with your question, please? Joshua? Okay. Then we can move to Terma Domo. Terma?
Hello?
Okay, Joshua?
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. I just want to know when this particular grant or project is going to start, what are the implementation need to be in place? That are my questions.
When the grant is going to start and what are the implementation modalities, right?
Yes, because I late a little bit. I was not able to get everything. That's why I'm asking this.
Okay. Thank you, Joshua. It will be dealt with. Thelma, please, can you come in with your question? I'll take 3, then I'll hand it over for the team to respond to those questions. Thelma. Okay. Joyce Inyiri. Joyce, please, if you are there, you can come in. Okay. Okay. Afolakemi or Dame. I'm sorry if I'm unable to get the name right in pronunciation.
Yeah, hello, thank you.
Okay.
Am I audible?
Yes, please, we can hear you.
Yeah, good day, everyone. I sincerely appreciate the organizers of this program. I just want to ask that in as much as the organizers are willing to help the earlier career, is it possible for experienced researcher to be a co-investigator while the earlier career is the main investigator? That's one question. Then number 2 question is that is there any research In as much as I sincerely appreciate that earlier the career people could be encouraged, is it possible or is there any research that also that can accommodate the experienced researcher? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Since we have our 3 questions ready, I'll open it up. Leila.
Right. Thank you. I will start with the implementation phase. So this project will start in January. I mean, we are reviewing now. We are closing on 30th September. We have given you, I mean, quite enough time to collaborate and work on a good proposal. We start in January, and as mentioned, there are 2 types. Descriptive is 12 months, while comparative is 24 months. So whichever you will apply, just count from there, 12 months and 24 months. You have had all the great work. There's blended learning trajectory, there's research work itself, there's peer-to-peer learning, there's mentorship, a lot of package and good things. On the early career researchers, as much as you're encouraging the PI to be early career research, we are highly encouraging the co-PIs and collaborators to be experienced researchers for a number of reasons, because the idea is to mentor the PI who is the early career researchers, and most importantly also is to encourage that the collaborators you're working with. So that's one of the requirements. We are looking at collaborators who should be a minimum of 3 and maximum of 5, because you have had application which has 11 collaborators. So it has been hard to work together, as we can see. So we want the team to be very diverse, ensure that gender is a little bit well acknowledged, almost balanced. Young researchers, experienced researchers, different education speciality within education. Just to note, we are also expecting to have various expertise in terms of practitioners. We should have policy makers, middle tier, try to balance here and there based on the context and the research you're working on. So collaboration should take quite a number of, I mean, looking for the right collaborators is very important for you to ensure that this works well. So yes, we're encouraging experienced researchers as co-PI to ensure that mentorship is done, and as noted, to support the PI. Thank you. Anything I missed?
Thank you, Leila. Okay, so let's take the next 3 batch. Dr. Benjamin Yale. Dr. Ben, can you hear us? Okay. Dr. Benedicta Isumnueu. Dr. Benedicta, please, can you hear us? Okay. Okay. Then I think we can take Stephen Segon. Stephen, are you there?
Hear me. Good afternoon.
Okay, Dr. Benedicta, afternoon.
Yes. Okay.
Stephen, after Dr. Benedicta, please, you come in.
Okay, please. I just want to ask this question again. I want to be very sure. Is it allowed for a team to apply for both criteria, for the descriptive and the comparative research? I just want to be sure, clarified. Is it allowed for a team to apply for the both? That's my question.
Okay, thank you. Stephen, if you are there, let's take you as the last question, then we can finalize and wrap up. Okay. Leila, please respond to that, then I think we can move on to the next session.
Right.
Those with the hand
Thank
up,
you.
don't worry.
Hello,
There is an
sorry,
opportunity.
Leila. I'm here with my colleague Stephen, and I would like to ask if the technical institutions, TVET, are also considered. Thank you.
Come again with your question.
Are TVET, technical and vocational institutions, we are an educational, we are in academia. Are we also considered? Can we apply?
Okay, thank you. Leila, please come in, then we move to the final session.
Thank you. Right. So the first one is about comparative and descriptive. Yes, you are allowed to collaborate in any of the space, both collaborative and descriptive, because at the end of the day, we want a handful of application, quite a few. So maybe your descriptive will have been the best, and then we'll not pick the comparative. Chances are we will not pick both, but at least one will be picked. So it's like buying a lottery. Put good quality one. You can collaborate in a number of spaces. You might be lucky to get one. I saw a chat quickly, someone asking if they can single-handedly apply. We do not encourage a single application. I mean, one person application. Rather, as we said, at minimum, look for 3. So collaboration is one of the things that we are really encouraging. You are allowed to apply whatever institution you are in, whether it is TVET, whether it is university, whether you're in school context. The key message is you have to focus on the theme, and the theme, as noted, there are a number of them, school leadership in the space of secondary education, because that is the main work we are working on in the space of this funding. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Leila. Michael, please can you move to the feedback slide for me? Those with the hand up, this is an opportunity for you. Since we want to really meet our time, kindly scan the QR code. My colleague will be sharing a link in the chat box. Make use of it. There is an opportunity for you to share any question you still have in your mind. And if you want it to be directly responded to, you can share your email as well, and we'll try our best to provide answers to the questions you share with us. We have the English version QR code and the French version. Kindly scan it and share whatever response you want to share with us. And there's also an opportunity to give us feedback as to how the session also went. We will pause for the next 2-3 minutes for that, and afterwards I will invite our final speaker to help us with the closing remark. Michael, please, over.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Emmanuel. Just to remind all the participants also that we shall share these materials with you, including the slides and also the recording. So all the questions that you'll also ask will be responded to. So no one will be locked out. On time, because we are really running short of time, I'd like us to proceed to the next stage and welcome Dr. Leila for the closing remarks. Thank you, and over to you, Dr. Leila.
Thank you so much. Because of time, I will not take long. The key message is let's put together the great idea we have. Let's collaborate. In fact, we can use this platform. You can even ask who can collaborate with you. Use it as an opportunity for marketing what you have so that you can find the right pair. The deadline, as noted, is 30th of September without extension. So let's see how we can put in together. Please take time and don't come to the last minute to see how things are intense. There's a budget template. There's quite some good forms to be completed and a good work to be done. So I wish you all the best, and looking forward to have our future cohort 2 sooner or later, and I'm sure we'll have another opportunity in case we miss this one, but I really look forward to have very strong application with a lot of good work in our context in Africa. Have a good day ahead, and looking forward to see you again in our subsequent webinars.
Thank you.